Welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving straight into what is literally the biggest tech mystery of the year. OpenAI ने actually animation के साथ एक अलग ही magic create किया था with Sora, right? It was everywhere. But then, poof, Sora अचानक से vanish हो गया. So today, we're going to figure out exactly what went down.
I mean, this is the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? Why on earth would an $852 billion juggernaut just abruptly shut down a project that completely shocked Hollywood? You have this groundbreaking tool that generates jaw-dropping videos from a simple text prompt, or फिर आप अचानक उसकी plug pull कर देते हो. On paper, it makes absolutely no sense. Let's quickly trace the timeline here, looking at the rapid rise and, well, the very sudden fall of Sora. Just look at how wildly compressed this timeline is. Think back to February 2024. OpenAI drops those initial breathtaking demo clips, and they literally stop the whole industry in its tracks. We're talking photorealistic video, believable physics, temporal consistency that older models couldn't even dream of touching. Then December 2024 rolls around, and they finally release it to ChatGPT Plus and Pro subscribers. But then, jump to 2025, Sora is just quietly shut down as a consumer product. Talk about a dizzying rise and a brutal fall. So what exactly happened between that mind-blowing demo and the actual release? Well, it all comes down to the massive gap between a tightly curated demo and the harsh reality of real-world production. When Sora actually got into the hands of pro users, the experience wasn't quite the magic we saw in February. It was plagued by incredibly slow generation times. There were these ultra-strict safety guardrails and content restrictions that severely boxed in what creators could actually make. And on top of that, the heavy usage limits meant you couldn't do the kind of rapid, iterative testing that serious animators absolutely rely on.
Which brings us to our second point, the Hollywood animation problem.
OpenAI was really gunning to revolutionize professional visual effects, right? They were lining up this massive $1 billion licensing deal with Disney in late 2025. But by early 2026, Disney completely backed out. Why? Because while generative AI output looks absolutely stunning, it's also, frankly, a bit random. And professional production, it demands exact granular control. Studios need characters that look perfectly consistent with their franchise IP across hundreds of different shots. They need exact lighting angles. They need precise camera paths. Sora could generate beautiful footage, sure, but it couldn't reliably generate controllable footage.
Let's break down the exact deal breakers here. First up, like we just said, creative control limitations. You simply cannot animate a feature film if your main character's face randomly changes shape between camera cuts. Second, union and labor agreements. Coming off the SAG-AFTRA and WGA strikes in 2023, Hollywood had drawn some incredibly strict binding legal boundaries around AI use. Navigating that legal minefield was just a nightmare for studios. And finally, the quality gaps for pro VFX. Compositors need absolute, pixel-perfect precision, not just a good-looking approximation spit out by a text prompt.
And that leads us to Section 3, the core financial reality of why OpenAI actually killed Sora.
Just let this number sink in for a second. $852 billion. As of their funding round in April 2026, OpenAI reached this insane post-money private valuation. But here's the harsh reality of running a mega tech company. Despite being worth hundreds of billions on paper, they were reportedly burning through billions of dollars in actual cash every single year. When you're operating at that kind of massive scale, you have to be absolutely ruthless about where you allocate your compute resources.
It basically boils down to a fundamental math problem. Video generation, especially when you're trying to maintain consistency across space and time using diffusion transformers, requires a staggering amount of GPU processing power. We're talking orders of magnitude more expensive than just generating text or images. Sora simply was not bringing in the kind of user engagement or revenue needed to offset those massive infrastructure costs. The unit economics, they just flat out didn't work. So if the money isn't going into animation, where is it going? Let's look at OpenAI's big enterprise pivot. It's clear as day that OpenAI is pivoting away from creative tools and just pouring all their resources into enterprise productivity. They're heavily pushing these advanced, step-by-step reasoning models, like O3 and O4 Mini. They're doubling down on developer tools, like Codex, to secure these massive corporate software contracts. They're also deepening ChatGPT with robust search and multi-model features. But the real game changer here? Agentic workflows. Take a look specifically at Operator, which they dropped in January 2025. Operator is an AI agent that can actually go out, access websites, and execute complex goals entirely on your behalf. This is a massive paradigm shift, guys. OpenAI basically went from, let's generate cool creative videos for animators, to, let's build AI that takes real-world actions for office workers and developers. Because at the end of the day, that is where the real enterprise money is sitting.
The whole market is reorganizing. तो अब Sora की जगह कौन लेगा? Let's dive into section 5 and see who is actually winning now.
The new landscape has divided itself up pretty clearly. Runway is out there capturing the professional filmmakers, mostly because they actually have established production studio relationships. Then you have Kling AI, which is basically sweeping up general creators by offering highly accessible pricing. And over in the corporate corner, Google VO is dominating the enterprise space, leveraging its massive YouTube integration and native audio capabilities.
But beyond those big three, we are seeing a massive boom in the mid-tier market too. Tools like Pika, Luma Dream Machine, and Heyluo are actively filling that consumer gap. Now, they might not be aiming for absolute Hollywood cinematic perfection, but they give everyday creators fast, affordable, and iterative generation. They actually allow for the kind of rapid, playful experimentation that Sora's heavy usage caps completely prevent it.
Honestly, the core takeaway from all of this is captured perfectly in this quote. The market is now selecting for tools that actually work in production. The era of the astonishing standalone AI demo? Yeah, that's pretty much over. For AI animation and video to actually succeed moving forward, it's no longer just about what looks the most magical on Twitter. It is entirely about controllability, reliable characters, and how seamlessly a tool can integrate into a creator's actual daily workflow.
Which leaves us with this final thought for you to chew on as we wrap up this explainer. With the entire landscape shifting away from hyped-up demos and moving towards practical, workflow-integrated tools, how do you plan to adapt? Are you building workflows that lock you into just one provider, or are you preparing to use a flexible mix of specialized tools to bring your own animations and content to life? It's a wildly shifting world out there, and staying flexible is going to be your superpower. Thanks for joining me for this breakdown, and keep experimenting.